Scenes were filmed with strategic lighting. Well, at least they're implementing some sort of strategy in season 2, I guess you could say. After season 1, I was concerned. We haven't heard anything from Amazon in a really long time about the Rings of Power. In fact, I think the last time they tweeted was sometime in July. But we did get rumors, unsubstantiated rumors, but rumors that, for all the craziness of season 1, these ones certainly do take the cake. So I've condensed them down a little bit. I've brought it into a more semblance of understanding. So I'm going to go through these one by one, and let's take a look at these brand new rumors for the amazing Rings of Power show that we all love to watch so much. Like that accident on the freeway that you're passing. You just can't turn away. It's just there, and you got to keep looking. All right. Rumor number 1. Amazon has secured more rights for the Silmarillion. In fact, Simon Tolkien has become personally involved in the show and overseeing some of these new rights. Simon Tolkien, who infamously said that The Lord of the Rings had too much J.R.R. Tolkien in it.
I think Jackson was kind of too faithful to the book. He kind of put too much into it. And so there was too much going on. I would have liked more character and perhaps following his own course.
They've already spent $250 million for the rights to the appendices of The Return of the King. So what does this mean if they secured more rights? It means that they can do what they're going to do in episode 1 of The Rings of Power, which is look at the Ainulindale, the music of the Ainur, the creation of the universe by Eru, the One, Iluvatar. So episode 1 apparently opens with Eru using the secret fire to create Melkor. Episode 1 will be entirely dedicated to Sauron. So obviously to have Sauron, you have to have Melkor first. So we're going to see him created by Eru in episode 1. Okay, all right. This is within reason. This certainly makes sense. So I'm not against this kind of a thing being shown. Now I'm against Amazon doing it, but when it comes to lore friendliness, this is not it. This is perfectly fine. This is not unfriendly. And then we see Melkor observe the creation of the other Valar and the Maiar by Eru, who has a vaguely human-shaped disembodied voice. So Melkor is there watching him. He is sort of the greatest, the most powerful. He has some of the powers of all of them in him, but he's the one that sows discord. So as we can see, this first episode is seen from the perspective of Sauron, it seems like, from the perspective of Melkor. Not from the perspective of the creation, but from the perspective of the evil that's come into it. Not sure I agree with that. That's rumor number 3. Rumor number 4. Again, this is sort of an interpretation and not a change so much as the secret flame, the Valar and the Maiar, they're all golden. The Valar are larger than the Maiar. Sure, okay. They appear bathed in golden light and are naked. All right. They haven't really taken on human form at this point yet, really. Maybe you could say they have a vaguely human shape. What are you going to do? Fine, whatever. And the scenes were filmed with strategic lighting. Well, at least they're implementing some sort of strategy in season 2, I guess you could say. After season 1, I was concerned. So rumor 5, after we find out there's a Maiar named Sauron who's come forth, or we'll find out what his real name is in another rumor. There are 3 different actors now who will play Sauron. We have Halbrand, we have Anatar, and we have Mairon, which is rumor number 6. Sauron will be in the form of Mairon originally, the original name he has before he becomes the henchman of Melkor. He will not be portrayed as Halbrand or Anatar in that form. So Charlie Vickers and the new Gavi Singh Chera will not be portraying him as Mairon. It'll be another guy. So in season 1, we were treated to, we don't know who Sauron is. In fact, there's this one guy who's super hot and he loves Galadriel and wants her on his side. And this one will be like, no. We're tripling it up. We're doing 3 Saurons this time. So get ready for your confusion hat, put it on, and we'll find out what they're doing with Sauron, because it doesn't seem to make much of any sense anymore. Not that it made much sense first, but they're really doubling down on the senselessness of this all. Rumor number 7. After Melkor disrupts the music of the Ainur for a 4th time, there are only 3 themes, but okay, maybe he interrupted one theme a few times. Whatever. Some of the Maia, the Maia are Melian and Gandalf, the Mithrandir, and Sauron, Mairon, they meet to discuss his discordance. So they look at it and they're going like, we don't like that music. Hey G, let's get a coffee and talk about this. I guess. They meet. Where are they going to meet? Okay. Mithrandir, in this scene where the Maia meet, I don't know what they're going to do to meet. They're this lesser Valar, so they don't really have a place to do anything. But Sauron's speech to him nearly makes Gandalf, here called Mithrandir, I guess, it nearly sways him to embrace Melkor. And this is what he says. The One has blessed me more so than all of you to see the potential of his creations. And what better way to forge their metal by allowing them to face Melkor's discord and grow beyond what they think capable. It's very reminiscent of together as father and son, we can rule the galaxy together, right? So together we can be more. Look, you can be better by being more than the bad guy. Look, we can look at Palpatine and say like we are more than he is. We can grow beyond what we think we're capable of. Once we throw him down, we can face the discord. We can face Palpatine. It's a lazy writing approach. It's a trick. And this is only the beginning. As we jump into these next rumors, like it gets even worse. Sauron now, after he has this coffee break with the other Maiar, he tells the dwarves that he apprenticed under Aulë, and they welcome him with open arms. Why? I don't know. The dwarves haven't hinted in the Rings of Power that they're under Sauron's sway at all. Originally, Tolkien did have the dwarves as more of an evil race, that they were the foil to the elves, and more so than just being different than them, right? They were actually like, they worshiped the evil, but that changed over time. And that is not the elves that we got in the Lord of the Rings. That's not the elves we get in the Silmarillion. So where is this going from? I don't know. None of this resembles what Tolkien wrote. So, you know, we have Tolkien going this way. We have the Rings of Power here, and then it goes like this. And now the Rings of Power is like going like and heading off into the distance. And it's sort of like where are you going? I mean, look, we have books. See this down here? Like, look, see all these books right here? These are all the books Tolkien wrote. These, they're all right there. These are commentaries. These are books. None of this stuff is in there. It's all gone. It's all made up. Nothing. Where does this come from? I have no idea. I have no idea. It gets better. Worse? Better? Worse? Sauron's son, we learned, is killed by Adar. So remember I talked about Palpatine, the Emperor, Star Wars? This is just like Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker. Hey, guess what? He's got a son. Sauron's got a son from where? I don't know. I'm trying to think of another Maiar that had a kid other than Melian. Melian married Thingol, had Luthien. What? Where? And so this apparently Sauron, the death of Sauron's son by Adar leads to a rift, and then Adar eventually betrays him, and that's why we get this sort of hatred between the two of them. Again, nowhere in what Tolkien wrote, nowhere at all whatsoever. Totally made up. And here we go. Now, the episode you were waiting for about the horses. The horses of Middle-earth get an entire episode to get dedicated to them, which focuses on the first of the Miras, which didn't actually appear until the Third Age, and we're still in the Second Age here in the Rings of Power. Felaroth, and introduces Shadowfax, and has minimal dialogue except for for some neighing, some whinnying, sugar cubes, an apple here and there, and they apparently will show Gandalf meeting Shadowfax for the first time. That would mean this horse is at least, well, I mean, depends on how much they'll compress the timeline in the Third Age, but it's at least 1,000 years old. I'm not normally speechless about these sorts of things, but I don't even know who came up with this. It's sort of like they watched Peter Jackson's films and were like, oh, Shadowfax, remember that scene where Gandalf whistles and brings the horse? That was cool. Let's dive into that. People love that. But you have everything Tolkien wrote, and nobody cares about the horse. Nobody cares about have an entire episode dedicated to these are going to be the horses of Rune now, right? Where Gandalf and the dirty little sociopath Nori Harfoot. Nori, is that her name? I feel bad even remembering their names. So they're going to go there and meet Shadowfax. Maybe they have a whole episode dedicated to getting to Course of Middle Earth. Oh man. Okay, rumor 11. And if you thought that was bad, Tom Bombadil. We've all wanted Tom Bombadil in a film. Just not in this way. They're featured in one episode, and they're played by the same actors that apparently in episode 1 are shown as Melkor and Ungoliant. Melkor, again, the Maiar who fell, who betrayed the music of the Einar, and Ungoliant, the giant spider-like creature that sucked the life of the trees of Valinor and sucked light out of everything. And Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are going to be played by the same actors because apparently it's some sort of punishment from Eru that they're stuck there and they can't do anything. And it seems like some sort of like we've had a memory wipe, and this is who you are now in Middle Earth. You're a singing, dancing, happy man instead of and his river daughter wife. Why river daughter? Let's remember what Tolkien explicitly said Tom Bombadil is the spirit of the English countryside. That's why he loved Tom Bombadil. He loved the English countryside, and he wanted it in there. He loved Tom Bombadil. He wrote Tom Bombadil outside of Middle Earth and brought him in. Tom Bombadil was inspired by a doll that his child had. The look, the yellow boots, the blue suit, right? Everything that was the doll that his child had, and so that inspired him, and he brought on this idea of something that wasn't affected by the world around him. And that's what he wanted, the thought of the English countryside. He didn't want it affected by the world around him, but here they make him into Melkor and Ungoliant. They have Tolkien scholars working on this show. And I think what we've learned is that Tolkien scholar is a euphemism for Tolkien destroyer. Like they want to change what Tolkien has written because they don't agree with it. It doesn't confirm their modern sensibilities, the message that they must have. So they don't understand Tom Bombadil and Goldberry. They can't understand the good in him. So, being that good has to be a punishment. It can't be something that's simply there. It's just like Peter Jackson not really understanding Faramir and the goodness that is Faramir, the high the royalty, the nobility, the high nobility that Faramir had. They don't want to understand it. So what did they make them into? Ungoliant and Melkor. It completely senseless. All right, rumor number 13. The season concludes with Sauron forging the One Ring. So it ends with the One Ring. We got season 1 ending with the forging of the 3 rings, which again is out of order. Those were forged in secret outside of the One Ring sway, which had already been done, forged, and was controlling the other rings. So Sauron didn't know about it. And even there, right, Sauron was there when these 3 rings were forged in the last episode of season 1. But in the last episode of season 2, he'll forge the One Ring. Now the question is, will they forge all the rings of men and the Dwarven rings before the One Ring is forged? I bet they won't. I bet he'll forge the One Ring, and then in season 3, they'll forge all the human, the king of men, the rings for the kings of men, and the rings for the dwarves. That'll be in season 3 because they already screwed it up so far. Why not just continue down that path? There's no reason to not do that. Plus, that's a lot of rings to forge in one season. I don't know if they can handle that much hard work. Rumor 14. Sauron will attempt to deceive Galadriel again by taking on the form of Celeborn. So Sauron, as I mentioned in an episode on our podcast, Exploring Tolkien, is like a shapeshifter. He can take on whatever form he wants to, apparently. In Tolkien's world, taking on a different form was taxing, right? Once Sauron is destroyed in Numenor, he cannot take on a fair form. So it changes them to take on a form. And so, but here it doesn't matter. They could be he could be like the spider on the back of your hand if they wanted him to be that. That's where they're going with this. So he's going to take on the form of Celeborn, who is dead, supposedly, or not. Maybe there's going to be a real Celeborn and a fake Celeborn in this now. Perhaps they'll go down that road. And in the final episode as well, Galadriel will have to make a choice to save Celeborn or not in the season-ending cliffhanger. Is that the real Celeborn, or is that the fake Celeborn, the Haldir Celeborn, the Halbrand Celeborn, Maiar Celeborn, Mairon Celeborn, or perhaps the Anatar Celeborn? I mean, this means that there will be 4 different versions of Sauron. There's the Celeborn version, there's the Anatar version, there's the Halbrand version, and there's the Mairon version. 4. These guys just have no clue about how to write a show. I mean, it was written for them in Tolkien's own words. It was laid out for them easily, but they're so incapable of understanding what a good story is, what good writing is, what good literature is, what good characters are, that they keep shaping everything into what they think is good, and they're 100% wrong. They had a framework, and they abandoned it from the moment they started. Once pen was set to paper, they said Tolkien is old, he's part of patriarchy, he's a British white male, we can't write what he wrote, and so we're left with the Rings of Power. This is not resembling Tolkien at all anymore. If these rumors prove true, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them are false, but I would be surprised if none of them are true. I'm sure most of these here have hints of truth. If they do Tom Bombadil and Goldberry as Ungoliant and Melkor, oh man, I can't wait to talk about that in detail and try and figure that one out, because there is no way that that's going to ever make any sense in anything. What would be the reasoning for making that happen? Like, who's going to come out and say, well, Tolkien wrote that, Tom Bombadil, he wasn't affected by the ring, so the only person powerful enough in the world that, when you read the histories of Middle-earth is Melkor, he would not be affected by the ring. That totally misses the point of Tom Bombadil. Totally 100%. So I hope you enjoyed that overview of these latest rumors of the Rings of Power. We don't get any news from Amazon about the Rings of Power, so this is all we got. It's all we got to go on. It will certainly be a wild ride moving forward into what they decide Middle-earth should look like. Middle-earth, it doesn't have to be a place where Tolkien's words matter. I mean, he might have written all about it, and we have 11 histories of Middle-earth, and we've got the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales and all the appendices to the Lord of the Rings. We have all that, but we don't really need it, because we know better. They don't. Hope you enjoyed that little look at the rumors. You can check us out on Exploring Tolkien. That's our weekly podcast. We're currently reading through Arendis and Aldarion, the unfinished tale of woe of the Second Age, a real story of the Second Age. So go to exploringtolkien.com, get our podcast there, or just subscribe here, follow along, and you can get that every week too. Thanks for watching.